Why in the world would I rather own these old Jeeps than buy a new one? Now, look, none of these old Jeeps are perfect. Like you see here, this one needs a new headliner. But you know what? Most everything that I need to do on this Jeep is cosmetic. But what I get with these older Jeeps that I don't get with the newer Jeep is freedom. Um, I had a Gladiator, and I tell you what, I love that Jeep. I'll eventually probably buy another one, but I'll never buy it new ever again. When I bought the Jeep, I paid $47,500 before tax. I don't remember what all it was after tax. I owned it for 2 years, and I ended up selling the Jeep um, for $36,000. So it depreciated like $11,500 in just those 2 years. So that's not including me paying $742 a month, and then all the interest that I was paying, and also, having the new vehicle, you have to have full coverage on it, and paying for insurance. Having an older Jeep, you can pay cash for it because it's a lot cheaper, and you don't have to pay the more expensive insurance on it because it's an older Jeep, don't cost a whole lot. So you can save yourself a lot of money driving an old Jeep. I'm not saying I don't like the newer Jeeps, because I do like the newer Jeeps. I like the suspension setup on them. They're very easy to do a lift kit on it and get bigger tires under it. I do like the newer Jeeps, especially the 392. Who doesn't love the 392? That thing sounds amazing, and it just has a lot of power that, these older Jeeps don't have. But when I had my Gladiator, and I had the payment that I was paying, um, the money that I was losing in depreciation, and the extra cash that I was paying for the interest and the car insurance, it was making things tight for me. I made pretty good money, but my family wasn't able to go and do things with the Jeep because I was too busy having to go to work to make a Jeep payment. I was too busy working some overtime and some weekends and stuff like that. And it just got really old. Me and my wife took a trip with the kids on the way home. We were in the Gladiator. We're like, man, we want to do this more often. And we were do it a little longer. We were only doing like weekend trips. And on the way home, we were like, what's holding us back? And we were like, the biggest thing that's holding us back is the Jeep payment. Now, I did have some other things. I'm been a mechanic for over 15 years, so I had some pretty expensive toolboxes and stuff like that, which were also contributing to uh, holding us back. So we got home from the trip, and we sold everything. We sold the Jeep and sold all my toolboxes that we were paying payments on. None of that stuff's worth it. So we ended up selling all that stuff. And then we were like, well, now all I had was my TJ back here, which I got in a car accident, and it sat for like 5 years because I couldn't afford to fix it. And so at the time, we were like, well, we need to get a vehicle that we can daily drive, and then I can work on the TJ and get that done. So the Jeep that I'm in now is the XJ. I found this XJ for $5,500. It was not running. Now, let me tell you something about the XJ. This thing has absolutely no rust on the underside of this thing. I do have some surface rust on the roof just because it was sitting out in the sun, and baked the paint caused some rust. But all I had to do, I put another $2,000 into the XJ. Now, hear me out. I know it sounds pretty crazy for an XJ, but if you think about it, $7,500. That was less money than what my Jeep Gladiator depreciated in 2 years. So to get the Jeep running, all it needed was a fuel pump. The Jeep sat for 2 years, and the fuel pump pretty much rotted out in the tank. So I dropped the tank, cleaned it all out, put a new fuel pump in it, and the Jeep was running. I drove it like that for probably about 3 months, and then it started having uh, some oil leaks and stuff like that. But that was to be expected. This Jeep sat for 2 years before it was driven again. So I kind of figured things were going to start leaking. So I ended up putting a new valve cover gasket, oil pan gasket, along with the rear main seal, and also the transmission pan gasket started leaking. So I replaced that. So all very cheap parts to replace, and also all very easy to work on these 4-liter engines, they're really easy. The only thing that's kind of hard on them would be the exhaust manifold, because they're kind of a pain, because the intake manifold sits on top of them. They're kind of a pain to do. But everything else on this engine, very easy to work on, and it's a super reliable engine. These newer engines with the variable valve timing and all that crap, they're a disaster. These 4 liters are super reliable. This XJ that I'm in has 206,000 miles on it. My TJ 150, the ZJ has like 127. So not having that Jeep payment allowed me to buy this vehicle cash. It allowed me to fix my TJ, and it allowed me to modify the XJ how I wanted. So if you want to get a Jeep and you want to be able to modify it, but you also don't want to be strapped just to have a Jeep and have it how you want it, look into buying an older Jeep. It's definitely worth it. Ask yourself, why do you want a Jeep? What's your purpose for it? Can an older Jeep, fill the needs that I want? And majority of the time, I feel like it probably could. Now look, yes, buying an older vehicle, it's going to need some repairs. The nice thing about an older vehicle, the nice thing about an older Jeep is they're fairly easy to repair, and fairly cheap. So they're super basic. There's not a lot to them. The newer Jeeps have a lot of different modules, and you got to take it in to get flashed, and they're just a little bit harder to work on when it comes to that kind of stuff. So, like I said, I did repairs on this probably about 2 years ago now, and I haven't had to do a repair to it since. It's driven fine for me in the last 2 years. And yeah, the Gladiator, I didn't have to do a lot to it, but I was paying $742 a month. This, I own it. I don't pay no payments on it, and it's modified how I want it modified, and I haven't had to do anything to it but put gas and change oil in it in the last 2 years. So, to me, super reliable. And these 4-liter engines, if you get a 4-liter, there is a ZJ that has the V8s in it, and both of those V8s, they're usually pretty reliable also. And there is the 4-liter, and there is the 4-cylinder engine in some of these. I had a 4-cylinder one. It was reliable, but it had no power. So if you're going to get an older Jeep, get the 4-liter engine. But they're just super reliable, not a lot to them. And for me, I enjoy working on them. If I have a week that just, kind of sucked, I like to get out and work on my Jeep because I enjoy it. That's just what it does for me. I enjoy working on it. But also, now that I have the older Jeeps, everything that I have is, they're all paid for. It allows me to go do Jeep stuff. And isn't that the whole point, anyhow, owning a Jeep, to be able to go do that stuff? The Jeep community is awesome. Meeting a lot of the people that do Jeep stuff, that enjoy the same stuff that you enjoy, is really awesome. So now that I don't have the payment holding me back, and I'm losing all that money in depreciation and interest anymore, it allows me to go and do that kind of stuff. We went to Daytona Beach and did Jeep Beach the last couple years. We went to Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, the Smoky Mountain Jeep Invasion the last couple years. We just got back from Panama City. We usually do Bantam Jeep and some other local Jeep events, and it also allows us to go and wheel like we want to, and do that kind of stuff. I never used to be able to do that stuff, just being strapped. And it did allow us to get this RV and a car trailer. So now when we go places, I just load the Jeep up and we go in the RV. And I can tell you one thing, the RV is cheaper than what the Gladiator is. Way cheaper. So if you think, oh wow, crazy, a lot of money. No, it's actually cheaper the RV is actually cheaper than what the Gladiator was, way cheaper. So it just allows us to do a lot more stuff. And you know what? The old Jeeps, man, just I don't know. There's just something about it. When you drive them, they feel different. Um, I don't know. Maybe you got to own an older Jeep to feel what I'm talking about. They just feel different. And then you get out, walk away, you turn back, and you look at them. And it's like, man, like you just feel good that that's you built that Jeep. It just gives you that sense of pride, and it's like, man, that looks good. I'll horn our way down to Panama City. We're pulling the XJ. It's like, man, that's a good looking Jeep behind us, and it's our XJ. So definitely just enjoy the older Jeeps, and it can do everything the newer Jeeps can. It just don't have all the fancy gadgets, and it gives you the freedom that a Jeep should. That's owning a Jeep is the sense of freedom that comes along with it. The feeling you get while you're driving, the feeling that you get when you're working on it. It's just an old Jeep, you get that. A new Jeep, you don't.